Hello everyone, this is Darker Joe, and today I'm going to be talking about the who I think should be buffed because there's a balance patch coming up on Friday this week. So I'm probably uploading this video on Monday or Tuesday, if I remember. So with the balance patch coming up on Friday, they already kind of hinted at there being. Oh, only want to talk about 5 stars today. They already talked about hinting at they're going to be buffing Architect Leica. Like they showed 3 units. They showed Architect Leica, they showed Fallen Cecilia finally, and then they showed Operator Sigrid. So they're probably buffing these 3 units as well. So because of that, they're probably not going to buff any other ML5s because they're already buffing those 3. I don't think they're going to buff 4 ML5s in the same balance patch unless it's that huge of a balance patch, which I don't think we're going to get. So because of that, I'm not going to talk about any ML5s that needs buff because we're pretty much going to assume it's going to be Fallen Cecilia, Operator Sigrid, and Architect Leica as the buffs for the ML5s. So, and I'm only going to talk about 5 stars right now because 4 star, because everyone's going to say, well, 3 stars just need a specialty change. And it's kind of true, which they're not going to do anymore. But well, not anymore. But there's pretty much they haven't been doing it. They do like once a year now. It's like great. So 3 stars are going to be all useless. Right. But not all 3 stars, but anyways, I'm going to go through some of the units that I think should be buffed. I'm going to skip over all limited units because limited units generally don't get a buff unless they have a rerun coming up or if there's a triple banner coming up. They don't generally buff. I mean, they do sometimes. Like they had Holiday Youthing buff like off banner for a bit. So I guess they do sometimes, but honestly, I don't think of any like limited units that are desperately need a buff right now. And I'm definitely not going to talk about collab units because collab units, they definitely don't get buffed unless there's a collab coming out for them. For example, you're not going to see a Soul Bad Guy buff unless we're about to get a Guilty Gear buff, a Guilty Gear collab rerun. So I'm skipping all the collab units, and if there's a limited unit that comes to mind that is like in a desperate need to be buffed, I'll talk about them. Before anyone says Holiday Youthing, I've been using Holiday Youthing for years, and she is amazing. I think she is heavily underrated, especially with how well she works with Teu's artifact. She allows you to really handle like she's solid into New Moon Luna, and she's really strong into Sea Phantom Politis. That alone makes her, and if you go really fast, you might be fine to use her as an anti-Para, ML Para, but you have to make sure that she's a lot faster than the rest of their team. But yeah, like I said, unless there's a limited unit that comes to mind that is in desperate need of buff, that's not a collab, I'll talk about them then. But for example, Abigail's fine. I think Sirmia's fine because she's a PvE queen. Hoi-Yang is fine. Before anyone says it, I think she is an actual really good unit. She's just not, anywhere near as good as what she used to be, obviously, but, she still easily could do her job. Also, I'm going to skip units that were buffed either the last balance patch or the patch before that, if I remembered that. Kayn is one of these definitely buffed, but, like, who cares, honestly? Ken, actually, you know what? I wouldn't mind a Ken buff though, and I think. But the thing is, though, I think he's actually kind of more. I think the only thing I could really see him getting buffed for would be like giving him extra, like giving him built-in crit or something like that, make it easier to build him. Because the problem with him is he's just, he's a no crit rate unit. Like he has no crit on his kit. But he does some really good damage, so you want to build him damage. But also you can build him as like a fast unit too. Like you can build him like I've been thinking about building him as a no crit damage unit, but just build him really tanky, build him at like 250 speed, and then just have this because with the EE triggers a dual attack with the highest attack when you use Celestial Kick. Like if you especially have Soul Burn for it, it's like you Soul Burn S2 unit, Death Breaks them. Gives a dual attack with the highest attack unit, which you already death broken them, and then you get an extra turn, and then you S3 just to stun a unit. I mean, he actually has some potential. I just think the biggest thing is that what's holding him back is two things holding him back. This is still the world of injury, so you know, bruisers are usually screwed over by that, and it's hard to build him because he needs crit. Like he it's like trying to build Fire Ravi before her buff, before her rework. Like it was super hard. I mean, you know, destruction set with crit necklace is probably the only way you can viably do it. Or you just go what I was thinking of doing before with the duel with 250 speed and just completely skip crit, and you're like, well, I still do solid damage. But yeah. Yeah, those are collabs. Cecilia, I think Cecilia probably could use a buff too. I don't know. I guess I would just talk about who I want to be buffed instead of who I think should be buffed, because there's a lot of freaking units that needs to be buffed actually. But who I want to be buffed, let's see. I would argue Ken would be one of them. I kind of miss Fire Charlotte days, but I don't know what they would do. Like I kind of want her to be buffed too, but I have no idea what they would do. Maybe give her more CR push, or maybe give her built-in heal when she gets hit. Make her like a mini AOE version of Apocalypse Rob. I don't know. I think she needs to be. I think she could use a buff too, and I actually want her to be buffed. Lilius is fine. Who else do I want to see buffed? Kana. Oh, she's still one of the units I wish was viable. Like, I love Bomb Anakana. I would use her all the time if she was viable in PvP. But basically, what she is like, I think they were just testing the whole dual attack aspect of a full kit before Flan. This is basically Flan at home, but worse. Because, I mean, when you think about it, she's all about giving herself dual attacks and stuff, and she's a Fire Ranger and dual attack. She's basically Flan with it still being a percent chance. You still need to use S3 before you get the free dual attack chances, and you don't get evasion. So it's like, if you're going to pick Kana, you just pick Flan, who is one of the most broken units in the game. So Lidica, yeah, Lidica would be one I wouldn't mind seeing buff too, but I don't know. The problem with Lidica is the same problem with like Crescent Moon Rin. They both are just like, they're just like riddled with 15%. They get 15%, you might as well just top right. You just lost the game. This is Ball and Suzanne's good for PvE. But yeah, let's get that 20th Melissa buff. I'm kidding. I think that's all I want for the fire. The fire units I would really want would be like Ken, Charlotte, Kana, Lidica. I think, yeah, that's all I really want for fire. I mean, I wouldn't mind an Abigail buff, but they already buffed Abigail not that long ago. Chloe got buffed last patch as well. I think last patch. I remember complaining about thinking that they nerfed her, but they actually buffed her. So yeah, and I've been using her still. Leafy's limited, so Luna limited. Ram, Sigrid. Tayu's very strong. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna do that against that. Breek is fine. This would be someone. I mean, not really, because Cleaver's already using her still. Who would I want buffed for ice? You were just buffed. Yuna. Yuna was buffed, I think, 2 patches ago, or maybe 3 patches ago. I don't remember. Luluka? I think Luluka. Yeah, I think just Luluka. I mean Xeno as well. Luluka and Xeno will probably be the 2 units for the for ice. I don't know what they would do for Luluka though, but I mean, she has a very good amount of attack. Maybe make it a. Does she already have 100% with the? And Zeno, I don't know. I think he just needs more free stats, I think. Because he's got pretty good, like, actual stats, though. Yeah, for that, I would go Luca and Zeno. I don't know what I would do for them, but... Earth. So, Earth, I actually have a lot more to talk about. Because there's a lot more units in here that... Because I use Earth a lot more. So, yeah. Who do I want to be buffed here? Let's see. Arunka. They need to buff her. They need to give her, like... I don't know. They need to buff her S3 damage on units with shield or something. And not... Because the fact that you get any kind of, like... These are like, oh, she only does good damage against units with shield, but like chances are they're probably also gonna have mitigation. If they have mitigation, you're not killing. Like she needs more damage. I think she needs maybe built-in mitigation as well. Then I think we should be fine. Wukong was Wukong buffed? No, he got EE recently, so yeah, so that's fine. Lilibet. My girl. So, Lilibet being my favorite unit in the game, and one that I pretty much call myself a Lilibet user, but I haven't used her much in RTA because, well, the meta is impossible to use her. So, how would I change her? So, it says you cut an enemy, you get, basically her S2 is, she S2s, S2s in one unit, and then she gets 50% CR push. If she bleeds the unit, she gets an additional 50% CR push. So basically, if you bleed the unit, you get 100% CR push. Or you hit, your S2 unit that already has bleed on it, you would get it then too. The problem with that is her chances of doing that is only a 55% chance. So she applies up to 3 bleeds, and she applies it at a 55% chance. So you need to make sure the unit does not have any ER, because you definitely cannot afford to use any effectiveness on her. So you need to make sure there are no ER units. You make sure they don't have immunity. Then you got to make sure that you land one of the 55% checks to hit 1 bleed at least, and then you got to make sure that you don't get 15% on top of that. Because of that, her S2 is a hindrance to her most of the time. If you ever see me use her in RTA, especially if there's a unit that you specifically have to make sure you extinct, like they have an Arbiter Vildred, or they have some other unit that has a revive, or they have you're like, okay, I desperately need to make sure I land this, make sure I get a chance at S3, because I'm telling you right now, especially in this meta, if you try to S2 a unit and you do not get the bleed and they resist it or something, the unit is basically dead. She's not gonna unless you're playing a Bruiser Lilibet, which I do have. I have 3 Lilibets built, by the way. One being a full damage, one being a speed, and one being a Bruiser. My Bruiser one might survive long enough to get her next turn, because then she'll be at 50% CR bar. She might survive to get that. But there's a good chance that they might just strip off my attack buff and I won't do any damage then, or whatever. Or they hit me with debuffs and stuff. But the thing is, if you're using a damage or a speed Lilibet a build, and you miss that S2, you miss that bleed, your unit's dead. Your unit doesn't function, because you're not gonna survive for that last 50% CR push to use S3. Her S3 is very strong, so she doesn't need any more damage itself. You don't need to buff her S1, S2, or S3 damage. It's fine. Just switch it so that her bleed. Just make it so that there's 2 things you could do. Either A, you can give her the Biken treatment and make sure that one of them ignores effect resistance. You could do that. Or you could just say screw it and give her the Karin treatment, Blue Karin or Karen, and make it so that if she lands a crit on her S2, she gets the additional 50% CR push. That works too. I think that's the easiest way to do it, and one that would still give you more counterplay, I guess. So basically, if you crit a unit on your S2, you get the extra 50% CR push on top of it. So basically, you're like Karin, except for instead of being extra turn like Karin, it's 100% CR push. So because of that, I think that alone will allow her. She would go from being a who the hell is this unit, like no one's gonna use her, to a wait. So she guarantees S2, S3, assuming they don't have Abyssal Euphine or Fire Politis or a unit that will like get pushed up when you hit a unit, like Ilnov type of thing. Like, oh, so you're guaranteed the S2, S3 combo, which means, hey, she does decent damage. She would actually be able to kill tanky units because she can S2 to weaken it and then S3 to kill it. Like I said before, her S3 is very strong. The only problem with her is her attack is not very good, but she is a very good bulk. So she's a solid. She has a solid bruiser stat line, which is why I have a bruiser one as well. The other thing I see as her issue too would be when you look at all bruisers, all damage dealing, attack scaling, damage dealing unit, especially one that are built on bruiser style, right? Like if you're a full damage attack scaling unit, you don't really have this. But if you're well, actually not really true. Most of them do actually. You look at any attack scaling unit that's meta right now, every single one of them has some form of safety in their kit. Like we're talking like Bloodblade Karen has basically 2 immortalities. Junua has a cleanse into immortality. Amiki has basically 2 immortalities. Who else? Rylet, who isn't super meta, but he's going to probably shoot back up when Para comes out. He has 70% evasion. Aiden, when both Aidens, 70% evasion. It's really rare for you to find a meta unit that is a attack scaling unit that does not have built-in safety into their kit. We're talking safety that's like works before their turn happens. Like, yeah, you can, before you say, well, she has skill nullifier. Yeah, she gets skill nullifier when she S3s, and after she S3s, she pretty much probably did her job. Hopefully she killed a unit and extincted it. In which case, your safety doesn't matter because you've already did your thing. You die afterwards, it's fine. You did your thing. Every other attack scaling unit has a built-in safety. The only one who doesn't is like stuff like maybe Rimuru, but Rimuru also has a 40% CR push, or 30 or 40% CR push when someone attacks with a buff. So he has built-in CR push. Like you look at any 5-star here. Look at attack scaling units, though. Tell me what attack scaling unit. And the only exception is if it's a speed unit. If it's a speed unit, like say Ran doesn't really have a built-in safety, but he's also a unit you're generally going to have 300 plus speed, so he doesn't really need that safety. But look at every other attack scaling unit that's viable right now, right? Jacko has a CR push. So she doesn't need a safety. So basically, they're either a speed unit that's like 300 speed, or they're a bridge unit that's built to make sure they get their turn. Every other one is either a HP scaling unit, so I'm talking about attack scaling units. Benimaru gets pushed up. He's not really meta either, though, too. Hwoyoung has built-in mitigation. Jacko gets pushed up. Ravi is kind of HP scaling in a way. Shalltear is a speed unit on top of being can't die in one hit. Junua has a immortality and a self-cleanse with a CR push-up. Soak Flan has 100% evasion. Elagos is a general unit you'll build 280 plus speed or more. Kalric, if you build him, he's probably 280 speed. Melissa is Milim is depending on the situation, but she does at least have 20% evasion built in. Melissa is one that's kind of situational. Like I don't know if people are still building her very, very fast, but I guess technically Melissa might. But then again, Melissa doesn't even being picked that much either. She's not even a meta unit. She's a niche unit. So pretty much, yeah. So when you think about it, though, that's right. We're trying to talk about the meta units. Like, yeah, that's a niche unit. Who else is an attack scaling meta unit right now? Like I said, Rand isn't seen as much, but he, again, the 300 speed unit doesn't really count. I guess Edda, sometimes you see her, but again, she's a bridge unit. Like Rimuru also could be considered a bridge unit in a way because he not really bridge, but he gets pushed up. Like I said before, he's not super. I still consider him a meta unit. He's just not insanely popular right now, but he might go back up with Para. Yufine, a bridge unit. Celine, I guess you could not really a bridge unit, but she also gets. That one's might be you might get me on that one, but it's like technically she does push up though, so a speed unit. speed unit. Like, yeah, every single one of them are just speed units. They have to have built-in mitigation or built-in like safety in their kits. If they're attack scaling unit, has 30% crit damage reduction and gives 15 to the team. Landy isn't as often. You don't see Landy as often, but I mean, then you got to talk about stuff like LQC though too. But 70% crit resistance. Like just basically has 2,500 defense and can't be debuffed. So yeah, that I count that as a built-in mitigation because you're insanely tanky and you can't be debuffed. Lone Crescent Bologna, this one okay. This one it might get me on it, but at least you have CR. Don't you CR push when you S2? On top of you could just be very very tanky. You can work on a base speed and still be fine. These two have like 70% evasion basically. Now built at 270 speed, but not really attack scaling anyways, technically. And it's a bridge unit. So yeah, like I said before, every single one of them. So if you want to make it a little bit better, give her some kind of built-in safety that works at the beginning of the game, and give her the ability to her S2. If she crits, she gets an extra turn basically. Other units I would buff. Mui. Now this may be kind of crazy, but I think with Mui, switch the effectiveness to Speedy so that she can actually compete with some of these openers and stuff, and then make it so she doesn't need to have crit anymore. I don't know why they decided to say, "Oh, let's make it so if you crit, you only procs off basically critting units." It's like Philitica isn't seen as much, famous Philitica. But she's just basically she's one speed faster than Philitica though. So yeah, there's that. But she's still basically just a worse Philitica. And worse Philitica without Guiding Light. If you get rid of the whole crit aspect you need so you can actually build bulk on her, and then you put this on Speedy, boom. I think she's fine. She'd be great. Very strong unit. I wouldn't say very strong unit, but she'd be played. Rumor is fine. Charles, yes, Charles. So Charles, I think Charles' problem is they need to just swap him to HP scaling. Just make him HP scaling, and I think that alone would be good because then you can build him like 25k HP, like 1300 defense, and not have to spend points in attack type of thing, and then he'll be fine. People need to learn. People need to be scared of the Charles when he corrects people. People need to get their postures corrected again, man. I miss the old Charles days. Even though I wasn't really a person who played Charles back then. I play him now. I'll play him sometimes now, but who else needs to be buffed? Who else do I think should be buffed? I wouldn't mind Bologna buff, but she is mostly a PvE unit anyway, so it's fine. Actually, it's not as much buffs than I thought, because like I said, I wanted to skip all limited and collab units and stuff, and so I'll try to not talk about them. But yeah, I guess for Earth units, I guess I probably just want Arunka, Lilibet, Mui, Charles, maybe Bologna. Other than that, maybe Irvalin. I don't know what I would buff with him though. Oh wait, does he not pen? Oh wait a minute, he doesn't. I thought he. Huh. Maybe he's actually not. I thought he had like built in. I thought he had like pen, like he was like one of those units that like, but he doesn't have full pen, so he might be a solid unit into Ilnov, because he doesn't get affected by him, right? Yeah, it just says increases damage. Well, as long as they have more health than you, you increase damage, and you just do damage based. You do extra damage based on the percentages. Okay, you know what? Still, I think he might need a little bit more damage buff on the S3 though. But other than that, yeah. Anyways, that was my quick video going over and kind of semi rant again against a little bit because I already know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna put this up on Monday or Tuesday or whatever. The bounce patch is coming on Friday. We'll probably will get that Fallen Cecilia, Operator Sigrid, and Architect Leica buff and stuff. It'll probably be a small balance patch, and it'll probably be like almost half of the balance patch just be those 3 ML5s. And they're gonna completely skip over a little bit again because she hasn't been buffed for 3 freaking years. Some of these people have 2 or 3 buffs before Lilibet got their other buffs. So it's like, but they're gonna probably be like, well, because no one wants to see Earth units anymore because Young Senya kind of destroys. People don't want to see Earth units buff because Young Senya. There's already an Earth meta now because of Mort. I'm like, well, like yes, okay, so Mort is a super annoying unit. Mine's pretty bad right now. Like mine's very bad. I have my injury, but like yeah, Mort's so bad and because of stuff like a Holy Stack and stuff and. But that's the reason, though. The fact that it's Holy Stack, wouldn't you want to have more extinction units? And Lilibet can kill. Like, this might be Lilibet I'm working on right now. I'm working on a necklace, I think, right now. For the second piece, it's going to be a necklace. I'm going to try to get a, yeah, it'll be a necklace, so she get more attack and stuff. I'm going to try to, my goal is to get her a 270 speed. I want to get her 270 speed with like 270 crit damage and as much attack as I can. But yeah, that's like this one. Yeah, this one would struggle with killing some of the tankier units. This one does not. This is my damage one, and it's not even like base speed either. It's just 215 speed, which is solid. That's good enough speed that any CR push will probably get a turn. Like this one, if you give me attack buff and soul burn, even not counting the S2. I'm like, yeah, I can't risk that S2. I'm just an S3 you. That's gonna do a lot. This is the one that I've been one-shotting people's Blue Crow back when Blue Crow was around. They're like, oh, I picked Blue Crow. Well, guess what? I'm gonna just smack you for like 26k. Because that was the Arius holder too, so there was no Arius basically. So her her damage is there. And then this is my Bruiser one, which actually isn't bad damage too. Not bad. Pensad. Speed's not good, but I mean it's Bruiser. And this is a very. I just hope they don't mess with the EEs because I like that this spells 2 debuffs for the S2 for my Bruiser one. That is a really, really good EE. I mean, you want to change like the increased damage dealt to Soul Cutter, but then buff Soul Cutter by 10%, and then get rid of the Soul Cutter EE one and give her something different. That'd be fine. That's fine with me. Or get rid of Slice. Who cares? No one's going to use an EE for the S1. That's terrible. 20% damage on S. Wait, it wasn't that. It was 20% chance to. No, it was damage dealt. Okay. Still. Yeah. Was there anyone else I wanted to talk about? Again, like I said, I wasn't using it as very fast, Melissa. But I mean, 215 speed, and if she gets her turn, she kills something. Same with my Ludwig. He gets his turn, he will kill something. Look at his stats. And this is what I was talking about when I said speed Milim, which is why I'm like, Milim technically has evasion. If I was to buff her though. Yes, I have 2 Milims, by the way. The thing I would buff for Milim would be removing the evasion buff that she gets and just add that extra 50% into Dragon's Eye, so that she just straight up gets 20% hit chance and 70% evasion built in. I think that alone would be really good because that's the main reason why I'm like Bruiser Milim, this Bruiser Milim like this build or counter build or whatever you want to do. Slow Milims don't work anymore. They don't. because 20% evasion is not enough a lot of the times. She's just going to get popped and she's going to die. And then if you do get your turn and you S3 and you get your evasion buff, they're just going to hold their strips and then have a non-attack skill strip, get rid of it. That's why I'm like, it's so bad how easy evasion is to counter nowadays. Why can't you just... I hope that if the next time we get it slime, because I don't think we're going to get any buffs to any collab units until we get a collab rerun for them. So I'm hoping that the next time we get a slime rerun, if we ever do, they do, they get rid of the 50%, they get rid of the evasion buff and just stick it into her passive so that she gets 70% evasion. That alone, boom, that alone I think should be good. Bruiser Milim will actually be a thing you can do again. But like now, it's like you can pick Milim. I can pick this Milim as like pick 4 or 5 in RTA. Basically, however, I could pick this Milim early. I could pick this Milim early because it's speed, it's fast, it's 283. If I see my opponent pick something like Celine, especially if they ban protect Celine, I'm gonna ban protect Milim because my Milim can probably outspeed the Celine. If I can just find a way to make sure I outspeed their other openers, which I have done. I've beaten like Lilius's. I mean, I've beaten like Conqueror Lilius's. I've beaten like Luna's. Luna's is kind of up in the air. Conqueror Lilius. Some of Conqueror Lilius and like Cfam and Politis's are like 50-50 with me beating as well. But like Noctwills, I've beaten Noctwills a decent amount of times, so I know that I can hit. Actually, Noctwill doesn't really stop me either. They press S3 and they reset me. I just press S. I'm just gonna slow burn anyways. Unless they seal me, then sure. But they can also miss the... Well, no, seal goes before hitting, so it goes through evasion. So maybe not. But yeah. Was I on fire? No, I was just fire units all that. But yeah. Anyways, that's what I want. I will go over the balance patch when we get on Friday, and since I'm actually gonna be off work, I'm gonna be able to go through it with you guys for the first time type of thing instead of coming in. So hopefully this is a good balance patch, because like I said before, I have not done my RTA yet this season. I'm going to wait until we get the balance patch to go live. So that gives me another 2 weeks or so to rebuild any units I want to use. And then before I start doing RTA, I will do account review to go over the units I have. So that if you have any, that way you'll be like it. Which actually I could put it here. If you have any suggestions or requests of seeing a unit built in the future for when I do RTA, let me know here, because like I said, the next 2.5 weeks I'm going to be building some units. So if there's any units out here you want to see, hey, I would love to see someone build this unit. And preferably if it's not one I'm going to have to spend molas on, I might do. Type of thing. But honestly, I've had a lot of units built. And I have almost every unit. I'm only missing 7. And if you just go to, this one, as you can see, I'm just missing the last 2 ML4s because I didn't want to waste Mystics on them. And I'm just missing special changes I've been just too lazy to do. So if there's any unit here you want to see built and potentially used in RTA in a few weeks from now, let me know. As long as it's not one of these, because I'm going to be too lazy to... I mean, I guess I could just do the special change if it's one of these, but I'm sure everyone's already seen enough Christie's and stuff, so yeah. Just let me know. I'll see you guys in the next video.